Good evening, everybody. We are doing a panel tonight, and so I want you all. Need to make it more the host, not mute you. Can I do that now? Okay, good. We're doing a panel tonight. Let me start us in prayer, and I'll kind of explain what that's supposed to look like. God, thanks for this crew gathered together over Zoom, for the gift of technology, even though we can't be together, and we do long for that day. So would you just help our government leaders, help our church leadership to make wise decisions, to not just see lives as numbers on paper, but to value them deeply, and that in the midst of that, they'd be able to make good decisions on how to bring the livelihood of people back and the freedoms that we can experience with fresh air. And so would you just give wisdom to our leadership in this time that's really hard and heavy? Be with our discussion tonight. Would you be with all those speaking to give them the right words to encourage their brothers and sisters in Christ, and lead me as I ask some of these questions in Jesus' name, amen. So the plan for tonight is to go through some panel questions with a few panelists. This is a little bit different than normal. It will probably go a little longer than our normal idea. And panels, as you may imagine, are a little bit different on Zoom than they would be in the 290s or somewhere else where we have a stage and we pass microphones around. And so my suggestion to you is to turn on gallery view so you can kind of see everybody at once. And then when a speaker begins to speak, there will be a yellow square around their picture, as you probably see around mine right now. And that'll help you kind of zoom in on what face you need to look at from the panel. So many of you could have been panelists tonight. I had to kind of pick from people I've known have been involved and just kind of randomized in a lot of ways. So don't take offense if you didn't get picked. These are just a few people who are bringing their voice to the table to help you connect with their experience and really to help give you a voice that will continue in your small group. So this is starting the conversation to hopefully hear from some helpful peers and from some mentors and move the conversation forward about things that are really relevant to life right now. So our panelists are Ashely and Tyler Bowman. Do a little dance for us. So Ashely and Tyler are mentors for us right now. I'll have them introduce themselves in a second. And then Isaac Abraham. Isaac, give us a little, yep, right there in the middle on my screen. And Gicelle. Gicelle is back home, made it back home from Sprouts. And so these four are going to be kind of answering these questions for us, just to hear some of their experience. Hopefully you associate with it some and it resonates and it's encouraging to you. Hopping right in, this is everyone share. Please share your name, where you grew up, and your favorite food.
I'm Ashely. I grew up in Ocean City, New Jersey, and my favorite food is sushi.
Yeah.
My name's Tyler. I was born in Long Beach, grew up in PV, and somehow ended up back in Long Beach with Ashely. My favorite food is probably pizza. And from a dessert standpoint, I like trolley eggs because they're gummy worms and sugary eggs at the same time. So.
All right. Hey, guys. It's me, Isaac, if you don't know me. I was born in Culver City, and then I moved out to Harbor City in the year 2000, and I've been here ever since. My favorite food is pizza.
Hello, my name is Gicelle. I think I know everybody here. And I grew up in Pedro, born and raised, still live in Pedro, probably will live in Pedro for the rest of my life unless I move out of the country or something. And my favorite food, I couldn't come up with one, but like I love anything with chicken, except for like bones. Like I don't like fried chicken. That's like the only thing I don't like. I like just chicken though, anything with chicken.
Interesting. I don't know how you can like chicken without fried chicken, but you know.
I don't either.
Healthy chicken.
Statement still stands.
Yeah. Okay, question 2. how have you maintained discipline or followed a schedule during quarantine, and what does that look like for you? So any helpful tips? This is not to bring out your failures in scheduling, but I know it's been something that's helpful for those that try to maintain a schedule. How have you maintained a schedule or disciplines throughout quarantine?
So I feel like everyone is laughing because they always know my TED Talk is on routines. But I feel like that was something I really focused on before quarantine, just when I started working like remote for work before this even happened. So my thing is that I truly believe in having a morning routine, and having elements of that morning routine incorporate quiet time and prayer and just kind of like setting your intentions for the day.
And I think from a standpoint for me, I've always somewhat been a routine person in a lot of aspects of my life. But I think from the quarantine standpoint, I've been trying to add like a few things in every day, and like manageable things that I can actually accomplish, rather than saying, I'm going to do these 20 things today. And the big thing I've focused on is working out. And I've noticed I tried it in the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And for some reason, like at the end after work, I would half the time just make an excuse on why I didn't want to work out and try and be healthy. So I've realized it's easier for me just to get up early and knock it out. And I think as you try things throughout the day, sometimes you can figure out what works best for you.
Well, I like that. Just focusing in on kind of one discipline at least. And that's worked for you. You have the other two?
For me, I guess it's honestly been pretty hard. I was so used to like just having a pattern surrounded by my work, and that kind of kept me grounded for most of the time. But because of quarantine, like that whole pattern's gone now. So I realized pretty soon that I had to kind of be more good with my time, and so I kind of just wrote out what I wanted to do like throughout the day, and that's kind of what I've been doing. So like mornings I'll do like a workout and prayer, some study. Afternoons I'll probably do some reading. I'll run my errands, whatever I have to do. I'll try to make a list. And then nights it's kind of random. Sometimes it's like family night or game night with friends. But that's what I've been doing. But yeah, I definitely miss the normalcy of just having kind of like work to ground me and having that kind of pattern follow through.
I think that's a common feeling. So, Gicelle, any more comments on routine or disciplines in this season?
All you gotta know is I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
You mean you don't have every hour of the day scheduled out and hit the exact bedtime every night?
Oh, I mean, I have a schedule. Like, I have something I'm trying to do, but it's about following it that I'm working on. But I'm already used to waking up early, like, for school and stuff. So for a little bit, I was slacking off just because I had the time to just relax and everything. And then with my back being out, like, I just had to rest all week. So I'm getting back from that. So it's been helpful getting up in the mornings. I've been getting up with my mom on Mondays, and then with Cammie, we kind of like wake up in the mornings to work out, or just work out our mouths instead of everything else. So that's been helpful.
Awesome.
Hey, it's all about perseverance. Just got to keep trying. You're not out until
at least I'm up.
Yeah.
No,
hey, I'm proud of you. I went on a run today again, and I told Nandy when I got back, I said, you're not responsible for this, I am, but you've got to help me remember to go for runs, because I get so pent up in the house that I need to get active and keep doing things, because it helps my attitude about life, and it helps my health in so many ways. So question 3, how do you deal with disappointment in this time? From canceled events, distance from others, loss of normalcy, personal failure. There's a lot of underlying disappointment of this season. How are you dealing with it? Healthy habits or kind of go-tos?
So I think in the beginning for me, like I was just so like negative and disappointed, and I was just looking at everything that I can't do. And then it just like hit me, like God put me in this position for a reason. Like God called me into this season. And I feel like the biggest blessings of my life have come from difficult times, have come from difficult seasons that weren't comfortable, that I didn't have everything accessible, that I didn't get to do everything that I wanted to do. So I think from there, I just decided like I was going to lean into this. I was going to, use this time to see what I want, what is God doing in my life through this. So I think that was like where my main focus, and it's helped me coming from like a place of gratitude. Like, especially for me, like I have my job, like, yes, like I'm at home, I'm safe, my family, like I haven't been directly impacted, and that's a privilege. Like there are people that don't have that choice right now. So every day, like I really just try to start like my day from a place of gratitude. And I think that that's overall helped me from becoming disappointed, because I think it's really hard. Like when you feel that gratitude and you look at this as like such an amazing opportunity that God has given us, it's really hard to be disappointed. So that's my main focus.
Yeah.
What Ashely said. No, because my big word too is appreciate what I do have and gratitude as well. Just from the standpoint, I'm so used to commuting to work and spending 2.5 hours of my day in the car every day, and just there's a lot of things at first I was thinking, oh, we can't go on dates, we can't, go to San Diego, we can't do stuff as much like we used to. But then also I get to spend more time with Ashely than I ever have. I feel like
this is like the long, like, even through our whole relationship, like we've never had this time. Like during the week, we never had weekdays together where we could do like a devotion and pray together. So,
and even as simple as dinner too sometimes, like it'd always be stressful, like, oh, he's working late, we have to make other plans to do stuff, or like there was just no normalcy and no consistency. And I think from this standpoint, like when I'm done, I just walk to the other room and like we can do something, or I can work out before work instead of driving to work, or we can do devotions together and stuff. And I think it's just been kind of a blessing in those sides that definitely outweigh all the, oh, we can't, go to the beach as much or go out and do something,
or see our friends or.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of pushing back against an attitude of disappointment with one of gratitude. Isaac, Gicelle, anything else from you two?
Yeah, I'd say my honest first thoughts were probably just, or my reactions were probably just grumbling when it all started. Like, I can't plan my hangouts anymore. Oh no, I can't go back to school. Oh no, work. And I think that's the natural human response there. But if you just stay in like that grumble, it doesn't create anything good, and you can't be a positive force for good for God if you just hold on to that. So going forward, I just try to give it up in prayer. It's been awesome, like in our prayer groups that we have here. It's been good to like get that off my chest, how I've been feeling, how we've all been feeling, obviously. And I think that helps, just having like that spiritual counselor in your life, even if it's a close friend or some figure in your life. Because I for a long time I didn't have that. Like I was honestly on my own, and I kind of just bottled things up. So it's just good having like a prayer group or just someone to talk to during this time. Because I think being alone is just the worst thing that can like really happen at this point.
Yeah, really, really helpful and honest. Go ahead, Gicelle.
Yeah, so I was telling Jason earlier that like for me, it's kind of, I'm surprised that it's not as disappointing as I thought it'd be being in quarantine. The only thing I'd say, like, yeah, like social, socializing with people, that's been tough. Like I just haven't been able, like I'm a very social person, so the fact that I can't do that, like it does suck. But I mean, it's not like, I don't know, I don't sit and think about, oh, this sucks. Like for me, it's just been actually really like really good because school got a little bit easier. I got my grades updated, everything's good. I get to train on my own, which I feel like that's what I need right now in this time right now. Like going back to like intense training is just not something I can do right now anyways. Like my job has been easier, just like my job is just it's not demanding, but it's the experiences I'm getting with like my coworkers and stuff. It's been really easy. Our boss is already lazy anyways, so the fact that he's like giving us a little bit of work is not really surprising because that's just how he is. But I've been able to communicate with some students because I work for student veterans. So, making phone calls, talking to them and telling them about, their benefits, and then also just helping them with classes has been really like enjoyable for me. And like the feedback I get from them is so much of an encouragement, because a lot of times it's just them like, oh, thank you for like actually responding to me and answering my call, because my boss doesn't really do his job and do that. So it's been easy for me to be like a source for the people that, are trying to like get help in this time. Because I know that for other people, school is really hard right now. I know my brother's struggling with school. He's not like me. Like I'm used to online. I can deal with it. But with my brother, like he's the opposite of me. He needs to work, he needs to do something. So it's been easy for me. But yeah, I do, I don't want to be in this moment forever. I definitely don't want to be like this for the rest of my life. So I've been just trying to look at the things that, have been able to give me a little bit of more like encouragement and hope. And that's been helping me get through like the days when I don't have anything to do, and my family's really annoying and like loud. So I have to deal with them anyways. So that is never a surprise, and it's never boring here at this house.
Yeah. Well, thanks all for sharing. I hear a real theme of focusing on the good of this season, which I think is such a helpful attitude to carry, because there are disappointments. It is real that your life has shifted, that you're grieving various things, that some valid things have been lost in this season. But I love that you guys are also able to see so much of the benefit of it, from not having to spend 2.5 hours of your life in your car. I mean, especially LA traffic. Like I can't imagine that, Tyler, like how soul sucking that would be. There's so many pros and cons of this season, and just to hear you guys say, yeah, I choose to focus on the good in this season. We see Israelites grumbling and complaining as they exit Egypt because they don't have enough water. Oh, we need water. Well, okay, I've never been without water like that, but you look at their lives and you think, God just did miracles to pull you out of Egypt. Why are you not like rejoicing that your God does miracles? And so it can be so easy to focus on these things and helping reorient our minds. I think it's a really biblical practice that you guys are pulling out of that. This next question is maybe a more serious spiritual one in some ways. That comes from a little bit of my experience and from listening to and pastoring some of you in this season. What has helped you accept grace as you've fallen short of expectations you have had for yourself? So let me expound on the question just a little bit more before we go into answers. But this idea of accepting grace, being that God offers us grace, that God offers us forgiveness through Jesus Christ, and it's ours for the taking. And so often the problem is we keep working at a self-effort to try to be good enough for God. And it's, at least in my experience, a continual habit of the Christian life to accept God's grace and say, as some Christian traditions say, have mercy on me, oh God, have mercy. Forgive me my sins. And as Jesus prays, letting that go so I don't bear the burden of my failure, but I say, that's why I need God on a daily basis. I think some of this season has brought out our failures to the surface, and it's hard to run away from them. And it's easy to hyper focus on that thing that we keep falling to, whether it's a real sin issue, an addictive issue, or just a way that we're a little bit rough around the edges with our family members. And so I'm curious, how have you guys kind of tried to lean into accepting grace from God and also accepting grace from your loved ones or someone else near you that can kind of speak that truth over you, even though we don't have church community as close by?
So I think one of the main things that I had to do, not just in this season, but I think when for some reason, when, if you're working from home, there's like this element that like you have to like overdo everything, right? Like you're home now, so you need to make sure you're proving yourself, to others, to who you work for. Like you just go for it and you overdo it. And like, I would have all these expectations. Like I have this morning routine and I have to follow this morning routine 7 days a week, and I can't be off my schedule. And I want to get these 25 things done a day. And then I don't do them. And then I feel like bad about myself. I feel bad for myself. I'm like, well, I woke up late, so I don't deserve to pray and do my devotion. You know, like I kind of had that mentality. It was like all or nothing. And I think through that, like, you know, really getting quiet and like listening to God, and God like just kept telling me like, that's not what I'm asking you to do. Like, that's not what you're called to do. And we've been reading this book. I don't know if anyone's read it, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And we've been going through it again with my life group. And there's like one part where he says, put simply, it's to organize your life around 3 basic goals. Be with Jesus, become like Jesus, do what he would do if he were you. And I feel like I just like took that and I just simplified everything. Like at the end of the day, if I am like trusting God, if I'm leaning into this uncomfortable season, and if I'm just like totally aligning my goals on that, then that's all I need. And I don't know, I just feel like that for me, like helped me like give grace to myself that Jesus was already extending to me. So I think that was a big one. And I think too, like Tyler like is like a huge, like he's given me more grace like than any other human has. And I think especially like when we're both working together and like, you know, we're definitely like more intense at work, and, you know, like there's times when now there's like somebody else there. So if I'm like super focused on something and super intense and like I get snappy, or if I'm not kind, and it's like, he just like lets it go. Like, yeah, no worries. Like it's a small apartment. Like I get it. You're busy. Like, so I think that like he's just been like such an amazing example of what extending grace to other people looks like. And I don't think that that's something that, I mean, that's something that I'm still working on. So.
I feel like I'm so lucky because Ashely is such a great speaker, but I feel like I should go first because it's so hard to talk after her every time. For me, I think the big thing was that I was trying to focus on a posture of submission, and as well as letting go of kind of control. And I think I haven't done a great job of that, and I keep trying to remind myself to do those kind of things. And what this whole situation has shown me is like, I can't control stuff at work, or I can't control stuff, you know, what we're going to do, or our house situation has been a big thing for us that we've been looking for. And I think for me, I have to try and look at the situations where like, okay, I have a lot going on at work. It's a completely different situation, but God's not going to give me more than I can handle, and he's there for me, and it's just a job too, right? Like it's not the most important thing. So I think that's kind of been the story of my life.
Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go in a circle.
Oh,
I guess that works better on Zoom. Just go in order.
All right. I guess for me, it's just the knowledge that failure is part of the human experience. You're not always going to win every battle. It's just not possible. So with that going forward, just in a general sense and in a spiritual sense, just you have to keep moving forward. You have to trust God. You have to just realize that with everything going on, I don't know if I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. Sorry, so you can go. I lost my train of thought.
Okay. For me, it's been definitely a battle with being okay with like my failures, just because I feel like this is just me personally. I mean, I just always feel like I get to a part where like I'm peaking and I'm like getting there, I'm working hard, and then all of a sudden everything just comes crashing down, and like I get knocked down back into this, you know, square one scenario that like it never happens because, oh, I made a mistake. It was just more like this happened and I can't control it. I do make mistakes. There's other times like, yeah, I'm even more critical on those parts. But like when it comes to, especially like with my injuries that I always get, like ever since I was little, like that's just always been a thing that has happened to me. Like regardless of how healthy I am, regardless of like how athletic I can be, because I am athletic, but then I'm also so prone to getting injured and like also so prone to like almost dying. I don't know why I'm always in a situation where like I'm almost gonna like lose my life because of the just how many things my body endures. Like, I mean, ever since I was a kid, that's always been an issue with me. So like for me, it's really hard when I'm trying really hard physically. Like a few weeks back, I was feeling good, and I was feeling really just like motivated to start this whole month right. And then one exercise that I did a little too hard, and I messed up my back. And it's just like these little things that I have somewhat control of, but at the same time, it's like I'm not even doing anything super, vigorous. I'm not over there like lifting an elephant on the top of my shoulders. I'm just, doing weights, and my body just can't keep up with itself sometimes. And what's helped me is definitely like the people in my community, and as well as like the people that I work with in my in kinesiology and soccer and in physical therapy. Like especially my physical therapist, she just comes to mind the most, because I always tell her like how I feel. Like I feel discouraged that I have to slow down again, and I can't do this and I can't do that again. And I have to always start back at like small exercises or small routines. And she always just tells me, she's like, you can't beat yourself up every time. Like you just gotta learn how your body functions and just be okay with whatever happens, because obviously, I just have a different life than other people do. And even, there's even athletes who struggle with the same thing as me, but with different injuries. And it was actually funny because I was speaking to my JC coach. He called me up today, and they had a team meeting, and they had a speaker come and talk to them. His name's Timothy Alexander. I don't know if you guys know him, but he was going to play for the NFL, but he ended up getting paralyzed from his legs in a car accident. And so he was speaking to us because he actually is known for bringing his college team to like the championships, and they won the whole thing, and he didn't even play on the field, but he had D1 scholarship for like to be on a team that he couldn't even play on. Like he was just such an inspiration. And he said like the first time he recruited, we went to recruiting, he got there, and he had his wheelchair. Everybody was doing his drills while he like did push-ups on the side, which I was like, that's crazy. Like I wouldn't even want to be there if I had a wheelchair. Obviously I'm not gonna be playing, but he said like he would get off of his wheelchair, do push-ups while they did the drills he couldn't do, and he would yell at them like, if he's like, you're tired, you think you're tired, like I'm over here doing push-ups, like, and I don't even have legs, like, dude, come on now, so that was really encouraging for me. And I found it funny that like that's kind of what our theme is today, like just trying to accept like and have grace for yourself despite like your trials and whatever you're limited to, and just finding like the good things that you do have. Like, and he was just pointing out how like he's grateful for the things he does have. He's grateful for the things, and he said if he finds something grateful in his life to have, then you should do something for that thing you're grateful for. So I told him like, I'm grateful for God, that he's been through so many things in my life. And so I was telling him like, you really have inspired me to like think about like, I need to be grateful for God. And if I'm grateful for him, then I need to do more for him. And whether that's resting, whether that's like being okay with where I am and not beating myself up, then, I need to do that more. So I definitely like was able to kind of tie that together today, and it like just made me be happy. Like, yeah, like, what, I didn't do what I wanted to do today, or that I didn't get to do what I thought I was going to do, but I need to be okay with like what I did get done, and just be grateful that God has given me another day to continue that. And if I need to work on it tomorrow, then that's what I can do. So it's just me trying to focus on like tomorrow as well, because I'm not promised tomorrow, but at the same time, like I need to just focus on like what's ahead of me and not looking back at like all the things I've already messed up on in my past. So that's definitely been helpful. And like, even with my family, I make mistakes, I talk back, I have attitude, or I fight with my brother, but at the end of the day, like I still love them, and I still got to show them grace, and I have to be graceful to myself as well when I make mistakes, and not be so hard on myself, because I find myself like being hard on others because I'm like, oh, well, I'm okay with being hard on myself, so like I can be hard on you. Yeah. But that's not how it works, so just showing myself grace in order for me to like show grace to others has been helping me too in this quarantine.
Yeah, thanks for that. A lot of really great thoughts packed in there. Isaac, did you have anything else you thought of and wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm with you there, Gicelle, because like honestly, I have a perfectionistic personality sometimes, and it's just like hard to like accept even the smallest of victories, because I feel like I could have just done better. But it's just one of those things where you have to accept that you're human. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're not always going to get it right, but God's always there, even in the smallest failures and your greatest successes, and that you just have to trust him with that.
Yeah, awesome. Love hearing that from you guys. My heart for the whole group is that you keep hearing that message of grace in this season. I experience a lot of grace through other people. Even God's grace is hearing, Jason, you don't have to be perfect. You strive for perfection as God is perfect, but it looks a little different than the perfection you have in your head, because you really need God, and that these things point out our need for God, and we're supposed to run to him in our need. And just to remind all of you, God loves you. God so loved the world that he sent his only son. And that is available to you as grace to accept. And even as Christians, we're continually accepting grace. And those of us who seem to be good at the Christian thing, or good at the intellectual thing, or good at the work thing, whatever you're good at, we tend to have less grace for others in our lives because we think exactly what Gicelle said. I'm doing a good job. I'm working hard. Why aren't you doing that? And just this topic of grace is really good for us in this season to relook at, because I don't have my friends next to me going, Jason, it's okay. Take it easy. It's okay if you don't get that much done this week. And you guys don't have that in the same way without our community as close by. And so let me just reiterate that to you, and hopefully you've heard that from the Bowmans and Isaac and Gicelle a little bit as well. So this is a little lighter question. What is the funniest moment you've had during Safer at Home? Any kind of random funny things that have happened?
Well, do you want to go first?
You can go.
Well, where do I begin? So, well, one of the, now it's funny, in the moment it wasn't. So we have like a Peloton bike, and we got it around Christmas, super exciting, like used it every day. And as Tyler mentioned, he's doing it daily, which is great. So, but he wakes up like super early, so he works out first, and like suddenly it just happened to break out of nowhere. And I'm like, really? Like that? It's like a very heavy piece of like equipment. Like, how did this break?
It didn't break.
Okay,
it clicks a little
it like
bit.
sounds like you're riding a horse now, and it's supposed to be a silent bike. So I did like all the work. I like had to take a video of myself making it make all the noises to send to them. They're like, yeah, lady, like your crank arm broke. And I'm like, my crank arm? Like, we've only had this for a few months. Well, the other day I woke up a little earlier and I proceeded to find Tyler. Now they have like very specific instructions on how, like, because you have shoes that clip into the bike, and they have very specific instructions on how to like mount off of the bike. So you stop it completely, you hit the brake. Okay, I walked into this room, I'm not kidding. Tyler was going full force, like fat, like Lance Armstrong speed, as he's trying to rip his legs out of the pedal. And he proceeded to slip. So he looked at, like, now looking back at it, like, I thought his legs were broken. I didn't know. And he then proceeded to tell me that's how he's been unclipping from the bike every single day. So he doesn't stop. He just, as he's going, he tries to rip his legs out. So that was one of my, looking back, it's funny. In the moment, not so much.
Bernard.
Oh boy.
Tyler?
I think probably the funniest / like motivating thing for me has been just the process of slowly growing a beard. And I think
Tyler,
It's looking
I don't
good,
know.
man.
For me, for the first two or
that's
three,
the funny thing.
for the first 2 or 3 weeks, everybody on Zoom was making fun of me, saying it wasn't really a beard,
We're
it was
still making
stubble.
fun of it.
Okay, you have to admit, there's at least a goatee.
It's patches. Like, you can't even see how patchy it is, and then it has multiple. That's not funny, Tyler. Why don't you tell your real funny story?
Oh,
Well,
Okay, I'll tell a funny story.
He thinks it's
I'll tell a
funny.
funny story. This is really funny. Actually, this should have been mine. So, like, we, like, we had been getting the orders, the groceries delivered, and then they like canceled our order last minute. And we're like, oh my gosh, like we need to get food. So we like mask up. And this was like before everyone had a cloth mask. And thankfully one of my friends, she had them making, and it was Easter morning. Yeah, it was Easter morning. And I'm like, well, what are we going to do? So it was the first time Tyler wore a mask. And I feel like we both were like a little heightened, like anxiety wise, just like, and like he put on his mask and then his glasses, they fogged up. But he proceeded to go through Vons with fogged up glasses and like yelling at me like, I'm like, you can't see. Like, what do you want? Like I had to lead him like I was like the blind seeing eye dog through the whole store.
I didn't find that funny, which is why I didn't share.
That was funny. And like people were looking like, what? He just like he kept his glasses fogged the whole time.
I wear contacts now every time I wear a
So
mask.
now he like specifically puts in contacts since he has to wear the mask.
If that's not a good coping with quarantine tip.
So my whole day was wearing a mask. So
Thank you for feeling my pain.
Sorry, my story isn't that good.
Pro tip with the mask and glasses, just put the glasses a little bit over the mask and have the mask up more. So like it's resting on top of the mask, and then they tend to not fog up
I'll
less.
also try that.
I wear glasses too, so I feel the pain.
Nice. All right, Isaac, what's your funniest moment so far?
I'm sorry, my funniest moment is just a series of failures of not having any idea what day it is, and it keeps happening. That's about it. I almost missed last week. No, we're not going back to that, Emily.
I think that was many people's funniest moment, though, when you fell out of your chair during a Sunday afternoon hangout on Zoom.
Oh
That was
God.
mine. That was mine.
That was absolutely my favorite.
Fine, we'll use that one then. All right,
I unfortunately missed that one.
Was it a morning Bible study?
It was.
It was the Bible study, and I was talking about like what I thought about the verse, and then you just see Isaac go.
Disappeared out of the screen out of nowhere, and we just see your legs up.
Jason wasn't there, so it was a Sunday sermon response.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, one day I'll happily post photos of the infamous chair, but not tonight. It's too dark.
We were recording that one.
That was great, though. All right,
Very
that's
good.
my story. Bye.
Other than Isaac's little fall, because I was gonna throw that one in, but now you guys already know about it. The only thing I can think of is like the most awkward physics lecture I ever had in my class.
No.
Our teacher had been like MIA for like the whole quarantine for a semester. He just literally like did not respond to my emails. Everything was just like everybody was just confused. We had all these projects due, and I had a presentation, and I'm like, how are we gonna do a presentation on Zoom, or like, are we even doing one? Never emailed me back. I had like 2 emails. He emailed later saying that he emailed like saying he was gonna change the grades. I don't know, all the stuff. And everybody was just like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And then like we had our last lecture, and it was our last week or whatever. He canceled that one, and then he's like, yeah, I had an emergency. And I'm like, this is the day we were supposed to ask him all these questions, figure everything out, and like not be stressed out. So everybody's just like, are we gonna have a lecture? Are we gonna have a lecture on Thursday? And we did. And then everybody was just like, they unleashed all their anxiety and like stress on him. And they're like, when is this due? Are we doing this? What about this extra credit? Can we do that? And then eventually, like, because this guy was MIA for so long, a girl ended up asking him, she's like, I know this is out of like, she's like, I know this is random, but like, are you okay? And then the teacher was like, what do you mean? And she's like, are you good? And he's all like, oh, why? Because I missed class? And she's like, yeah, like, is there something going on? And he's like, no, my wife was just sick and I had to take care of the kids and all this stuff. And I feel really bad for him because he seemed like he was going through a lot, but he said he was fine. And then like, I don't know, the whole lecture was just really random and everybody was just like out of it. And then there was a point where like it was all silent because he was looking at someone's grade. trying to see if there was an error, so we were just all waiting. And then some guy who I guess wasn't paying attention that we were quiet for a reason, he's like, I'm sorry, I was busy sneezing. Is there a reason why everybody stopped talking? And then like everybody was just like, yeah, he's like, yeah, but great. And then I just commented in the comments, I was like, hey, somebody get him a tissue. Like he has to like sneeze over there in the other room. That's how bad it is. And then someone said like, yeah, it's been so bad. I've been sneezing. I needed to use a potato. And at that point, I was like, damn, I don't know what's going on. I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm over. And that was like the funniest thing because my teammate and I were FaceTiming while like on Zoom because we're in the same class and we were just cracking up. We're just like, bro, what is going on? Why are these people on track? It was so crazy. So yeah, that's it.
Physics class. Excellent. Well, here's our final question for the evening for the panelists, and then we'll have a few announcements and before we go to small groups. But for the panelists, what scripture verse or passage resonates with you in this time?
So I feel like this is like a very cliche one to say,
Okay.
but we like one of the things that we had started to do in Tyler, like when we had our morning devotions, was go through Philippians. And I think like that whole, like all the changes at once, like really affected my anxiety. So like this whole time it's just been Philippians 4, 6, and 7. That's just like a constant reminder to me, like not to be anxious and not to worry and that God is in control. And I've just like been using that to like just reaffirm myself every day.
Do you have a Bible in front of you to read it to us?
I can read it from my phone.
Oh yeah, great.
Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus.
It's a great one. We've had some interns memorize that in the past.
I like it.
Yeah. Tyler?
And I think for me, it's one that kind of resonated in college in multiple stages of my life, but it was Isaiah 41:10. And it was, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I'll strengthen you and help you. I'll uphold you with my righteous right hand. And I think just kind of the constant reminder of God being there with me through this challenging time. He has a purpose for everything, and that through him I can kind of do anything is just kind of a good reminder, whether it's a work, whether it's getting through this, and just, I don't know, it kind of makes you realize, like, you know, he's bigger than everything that's going on right now. So.
Speaking of doing anything, I feel like I just redeemed myself because the last time I publicly read a verse was when we got asked to like read the verse to light the candle at church. And I never have like any problem public speaking. And I like got up there and my like mouth glued together and I like couldn't get through the verse. So I just feel very redeemed right now. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Not a competition.
For me, so I've been reading this book called The Secret of Joy by Mark Fairley. It goes over like 10 biblical antidotes for anxiety and depression. And on the chapter involving gratitude as one of the attitudes, he uses the verse from 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, which is, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. And for me, that's just like, you can't always, like, you can't control what's going to happen. Life is going to happen. You never know what's happening out there, but you can control how you respond to it. And for me, that's just been one of the most important things for me.
Excellent.
I don't know why I have a weird relationship with Romans. Like sometimes I'm just like mad about what it says, and then sometimes I'm like, dang, okay, that's really good. So for me, Romans 8:37 has been sticking out to me. It's just one little verse that I've been kind of reading over and over. But that one is, yet amid all these things, we are more than conquerors and gain a surpassing victory through him who loved us. And I just like it because, like, I mean, I'm an athlete. Like, we like to win. We like to have victories, like, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's hard to see the little victories that we have where we think we're losers because we failed at something, whether it's sports or whatever it is, like the mistakes or the failures I have in my life. So for me, like, to hear that, just knowing, like, I mean, I have God and he's a winner, always will be a winner. To be on his team is to win. So that's something that encourages me to, like, you know, with everything, just, you know, outside of quarantine or whatever, it's been helpful. Just knowing, like, it's okay if I'm not a winner on this earth, but, like, you know, in heaven, that's where the real bread is, you know? So, like, that's something that keeps me going and reminds me, like, it's okay, you know, whatever happens here from now on, it's, you know, that's what God has in store for me. And, you know, without God, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. And so I feel like that's already a win for me, the fact that I have someone who can help me get through things, you know, so.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for sharing. Again, just want to reiterate, so many of you could have had voice in this time, but I'm so grateful for each of you just taking the time to kind of pre-prepare some responses and really share your heart honestly for our encouragement. A lot of us can associate with some of your feelings and emotions, and we laugh at your funny moments as well. Good to get to know you a little bit this way. If some of you don't know this crew of people, Ashely and Tyler and Isaac and Gicelle, I'm sure you'll be seeing them around plenty more. So please reach out to them. Isaac, you've got a chat question from Ginny about what the title of your book, if you want to respond to that. So Emily will toss it back to me right after announcements for a final announcement. But Emily, if you want to go ahead and make the announcements for the week. Thank you, college assistant.
Hi. Quickly, spotlight. Hello. And then, whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. Hi, my name is Emily. If you did not know me, I am the college assistant. Hello. First thing is we are on the Band app. So if you don't know what the Band app is, it's just a good app that we're on, and we have a bunch of different group chats, one like prayer requests and helpful tips, and we just connect with each other throughout the week. And it's really great. So if you're not a part of that, just look up at RHCC College. You'll see a big group picture. That's us. So if you want to be a part of that, boom, boom, boom. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Second announcement is that we have a Sunday sermon response and hangout every Sunday from 1 to 3:30 in the afternoon. We just spend a few minutes discussing the sermon together, and then just playing games, having fun, and connecting with one another. Normally we have a Bible study every Monday from 10 to 11, but this Monday we will not be holding Bible study because it is Memorial Day. So just take the time to relax. You know, that doesn't stop you from opening up your Bible and connecting with God. But just know that we will not be on Zoom Monday morning. Sleep in, whatever. Just take the day to chill out. But we will still have Tuesday hangs. That's every Tuesday from 2 to 4. Just playing games, connecting with one another, having a lot of fun and laughter. So if you want to join that, you should totally join that. And it's a grand old time. Woo!
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. Monday is Aiden's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Ashely had a birthday earlier this week.
Yay. Happy Memorial Day, Aiden.
Happy Memorial Day. Happy birthday, Ashely. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Everybody else had a
Ashley.
birthday.
Everybody who had a birthday, because I don't know.
Everybody has one.
Maybe he's the best, just saying.
Great.
Totally not a man baby. I don't know what you're
So last announcement is really more something to address. It's kind of in looking forward and talking about how do we reopen. We gave a little bit of a hint of a preview of returning to normal by doing an in and out get together at the end of college group last week. So I just wanted to address that because it, yeah, in some ways didn't go as I'd hoped, and in other ways was probably what I should have expected. Yeah, so essentially I tried to make ground rules to make this really safe for everybody who wanted to come to In and Out after college group, to stay in your cars and just to provide protection. And some of you might not feel that, some of you might feel like this COVID thing is not really that big of a deal. But from my knowledge of where people are at, and some people really want to protect their families. I mean, for me personally, My son isn't even 6 months old, and there are children in LA's Children's Hospital with some form of intense reaction from COVID, and I don't want my son to be one of them. I would rather die myself than have anything happen to him. And so for me, it's not worth the risk of giving you guys hugs in this season. And I know some of you feel okay with that. You feel personally okay. You're already hanging out with others in group settings. I don't have control over your lives, but when we do get-togethers, as we begin to come back as a college group, I'm going to have to keep asking you to take a step further back from what you might believe is okay, just so that there's better unity in the body as a whole. And I have a couple scriptures that I think are helpful to this situation, and just a couple comments on them. So Hebrews 13:17 says, "Obey your leaders and submit to them, for they are keeping watch over your souls as those who will have to give account. Let them do this with joy and not with groaning, for that would be of no advantage to you." So just to give you guys a little picture into the difficulty of leadership in a decision time like this, to have compassion on your governor and the mayor of LA who's making hard decisions with his team, our church leadership, and at times me as well. The things that go into making a decision are not just saying, well, some of you will be okay without wearing face masks, so we don't need to wear that. But as they look at all the situations and they say, well, it's not going to be popular, but we might need to ask everybody to wear face masks at grocery stores. They've decided that it's worth the risk of their being well loved as a politician or well liked to make a decision that's going to keep the most people safe. And they are ultimately the ones responsible for that decision. So let me reiterate that. Obey your leaders and submit to them. Even if you don't agree, do the best you can in this season. For they are keeping watch over your souls as those who will have to give an account. And so just try to remember that as our Christian faith tells us to submit to governing authorities. We've studied that in 1 Peter. Another one is for your Christian brothers and sisters in Romans 15. Paul addresses how we're supposed to treat brothers and sisters in Christ who maybe have convictions that don't align with ours. Romans 15:1 says, "We who are strong have an obligation to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. Let each of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up. For Christ did not please himself, but as it is written," and it goes on. So some of the theology behind this, the Christian thought behind this verse is that a little bit out of context with COVID, but it's if you have spiritual convictions that you feel fine and you feel full faith to be able to gather together as the church in this season, that's great. I'm glad you have faith for that. But I'll just tell you, maybe I'm the weaker brother right now, and I'm afraid for my son, and I'm afraid for my family, and I'm afraid for the older people that I know in my life or people with conditions that might be more vulnerable if I were to get the disease and pass it off to them. And so for my sake, if I'm the weaker brother here, if you're strong and you feel plenty of freedom to do whatever, I ask you, take care of me and be overprotective of yourself if you happen to be a carrier of this disease. If you might not show symptoms, but you could be contagious to many other people. There's so many instances of that happening. And so for some of us, we just need even the mental protection that as we begin to get back together more often, not just in the In-N-Out parking lot, but potentially bringing it back to the 290s weeks in the future, we need you guys to follow some of those directives and the things that we bring. So does anybody have any questions on that? I would love for maybe even a few of you to share your thoughts.
Will there be any summer events?
Great question. At this point, I have no idea. We may be able to do our Tuesday hangs. We call them Summer Tuesdays at some point over on the beach and in the parks because those are outdoor activities that are lower contact. But I'll have to keep watching to see at what level our government has reopened certain things. And then a lot of it does depend on how our group responds in these settings. because if we're not being safe around each other, then as a leader, I can't allow us to get together and potentially infect each other. Any other thoughts, questions?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day.
Oh, no. Mind.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gicelle.
No, I was just gonna say, I had already talked to a few of you guys just about like last Thursday, you know, and I talked to Jason, and I did really feel like convicted of how it went, just knowing like I was part of that, and also like how I am, like my personality. I'm very like, yeah, like I don't care, you know, I'm reckless and all this stuff. So, you know, that personality, sometimes I have to be more considerate about it when we're in a situation like this where we have to be a little bit more aware of like how we act and like what we're doing, especially if we're being at risk of like just being exposed to other things or causing people to be exposed. So I just wanted to say, like, I apologize for the way I was at the hangout, and hopefully, you know, if you feel the same way as I do, where I felt like, you know, I wanted to hang out and see everybody, you know, and it got to a point where I was overwhelmed with all the excitement that I ended up, you know, just getting out and hanging out with everybody. And you know, after Jason had already said, like, you know, stay in your cars, and you know, we had already something set up, and I feel like a lot of people weren't doing that, and you know, that gave me the excuse to like go out as well. But I definitely don't agree with that choice. So I do feel convicted for like making that decision myself and like going out despite like what we were told to do. But I'm also really happy that I have people in my community who are like really just accepting and like very compassionate, and who are mature enough to like, you know, hold me accountable to that. And also just like when I am holding myself accountable, that they're willing to give me grace and compassion for that. And so I encourage you guys, if like you guys feel that way, like convicted, or you guys feel like, you know, you might have made a mistake or something, or you feel shameful about something that you've done, whether or not like you think you're in the right or the wrong, like I would say you need to speak up, like talk about it, because that's why Jason's here, that's why everybody's here, you know, like that's why your leaders are here, that's why I'm here. Like we're all supposed to be friends. I mean, I know we're not gonna be best friends or whatever, but the fact that like I had that experience already, and I saw how graceful people were and how God worked in that. I really encourage you guys to also open up if you guys have things to share, things you feel, or things you want to like just feel convicted of. Like just know like this is a place for safety. This is a place for, you know, growth. This is a place for you know, for your own well-being, like where you can express yourself and be yourself, and admit to your mistakes regardless of what people think, because at the end of the day, like we have to love one another. So I was able to share what I felt convicted for because I felt that comfortable in this group setting, and I felt safe, and I felt like people here love me enough to know like when I made a mistake, but also love me enough to know like that it's okay, and that, you know, they're gonna love me regardless. So just want to throw that out there, because I know that this is not going to be the only time. This is not going to be the first time. It won't be the last time. There's going to be multiple situations like this. Maybe we can't control this situation, and maybe we can make better decisions about things. But I just want to be proactive in that, and hopefully you guys will too, and encourage the other people who may not be here to hear this, or may not be available to, you know, hear the sermons or whatever it is, that, you know, we can encourage each other to just hold each other accountable, and also to just be good brothers and sisters to each other. So. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Giselle. For those that it might be a little in the fog right now, last week I had to get together again to go to In-N-Out after college group. Had said, hey, please don't drive together. Please stay in your cars. We'll stay on a Zoom call together. And even as we got there were people that didn't maybe hear the communication or didn't agree, weren't part of that were already outside their cars. And so I'm not mad that people were outside their cars. I was disappointed because for me, it puts that risk factor in. And I know there's a lot of peer pressure to then get out of your car if you had already decided not to. And so it seems silly, but in this season, it's a tester on how well we're going to be able to protect each other. And so anybody else have a thought? Megan, maybe would you even share your experience of that night? I haven't even talked to you since then, but.
Yeah, it was just a little hard for me. I was a little disappointed as well, just because it has hurt on a personal level with my grandma passing away from it, and me not being able to be with my family over there, and just that whole situation. So it was a little bit uncomfortable, but you know, I've been able to talk it out with people. So yeah, it's been a good relief week, but there was a lot in that moment. So, but
yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And just as an example, I mean, those are the kind of things that when you're making decisions, as Gicelle just kind of admitted to, that we don't always think of everybody's impact, but knowing what Megan's been through with this it's really hard, and there are a lot of others, and trying to protect parents in this group that feel really uncomfortable in that kind of setting. And so that's kind of, I choose to address that really seriously, because looking forward, that's going to make a big difference in how we begin to get back together. So again, Gicelle, just wanted to speak a lot of grace over you and say thank you for sharing that. So encouraged by you coming back around and saying, yeah, I didn't do the right thing. And so just really grateful for you sharing, and want there to be safety in this group for all of us. Cool. Great. Okay, we're ready to go to small groups. It's a little later than normal, but you guys don't have anything else to do, right? So enjoy.